in McKinney. This is According to Callis. It is May the 5th, the year of our Lord 2025, Cinco de Mayo, the Mexican holiday that for whatever reason we in Texas love to celebrate. It might just have something to do with somebody else beating the French. That might be. In any case, before we get started, before we jump into the issue for the day, let me just say, not going away. I'm finding a rhythm. I've got a plan. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. This is too important to stop, but it is going to be restricted. It is going to be lighter, and I've been honest about that. But you can help me continue to make a difference by sharing, subscribing, liking, doing all that stuff, joining me on the social media of your choice. You can find this podcast on all the podcatchers: Amazon, Spotify, Podbean, Apple, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, and anyone else out there that you can think of. I'm on the Facebook, got a page and a group, According to Callis. You can find me on Gab, where I'm a pro. I drop in at MeWe, and you can still find me on YouTube. And we all do our part, right? You can only pick so many battles. You can only fight in so many things, metaphorically speaking. Okay, let's be clear about that. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the Collin County municipal elections. Now, I got to be honest, I can only focus on 3 of the big 4. As far as I know, there were no elections in Allen. I know some of the cities that would be the second tier of population, not second tier cities, but the second tier of population had some results, and I know some of the smaller towns had results. With the exception of Blue Ridge, where I know they ran the board, and I was confident that was going to happen anyway, I can't really comment on all those. But I will talk about Frisco, Plano, and McKinney, and that's the subject for today. So here we go, on with the program. All right, Election Day came and went on Saturday. Now, I myself was present, 6 hours poll greeting. The weather was terrible, new job, kicking my butt. You only got so much time in your life. But I got to say, I was a little perplexed. All these, staunch Republicans, the good conservatives out there, I really did not see a lot of them. I mean, there were some there. Perhaps they were somewhere else, but I just didn't see it. All the quote-unquote usual suspects, if you will. It was low turnout, which is common, right? The municipal races are low turnout. Something in the neighborhood of 18,000 voters in McKinney. We had the runoff race determined by a couple of hundred votes for the at-large seat. And quite frankly, had 1,000 more people showed up in the mayoral race, it might have got interesting. Okay, so first let's go on the overview here. Stacy Weaver won. She crushed it. She got 64% of the vote, I believe. But this was kind of a no-brainer, right? Everybody went out and did their thing there. However, in Plano, and there's various reasons why that may be. And believe it or not, I've got a guest commentary that I'm going to riff off of here in just a few minutes. But I think we lost every single race in Plano. Every race. A 0. We were shut out. I mean, it's bad enough that the Democrats are celebrating. Okay? And in McKinney, we got 2 ties and 3 losses. Unendorsed candidates, or one that should have been endorsed but wasn't endorsed. The other 2 candidates were endorsed but lost, and the 2 people that we did endorse, Collin GOP endorsed, they got to runoffs. Now, I'm pretty excited about what the outcome of those runoffs are going to be. I feel pretty confident about that. But again, you can't count your chickens before those eggs have hatched. And in Frisco, we got shut out. No, I take that back. We got one win. Stephanie Elad won in Frisco. So that's 2 wins in Collin County. of the three big cities. There were two runoffs, right? Bert Thacker and Jared Elad. They made it to the runoff. Wishful thinking there, hopeful thinking. There's a path to victory there. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. And as far as the losses, the entire school board beyond, or I should say everything other than that, we lost. Stephanie Elad won. Jared and Bert made it to the runoff, and I think there was 2 or 3 school board races the 2 school board races, we lost those. We had, I believe, endorsed candidates in there. So 2 losses. Let's make sure we get this down. Okay. So we've got, just off the top of my head here, and forgive me if I get this wrong, we've got 10 losses, 4 ties, which was what we're going to call runoff, a tie, and 2 wins. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm a municipal candidate, why in the world on this point would I want the Republican Party endorsement? It seems like a good way to lose. Now, to be fair, the Democrat in McKinney won largely because the person that should have got the Republican endorsement was sabotaged. And there was a whole lot of people that are purists that had issues. And to be fair, and to be really fair, Dr. Feltus is a class act, super smart, nice lady, just a really good candidate. So that's tough to beat right from the get-go. Yeah, she's a Democrat. Yes, there's probably things that we would disagree about politically. But again, this comes down to the quality of the candidate. If you're going to run against a good candidate, Democrat or not, you better have a really good candidate. We didn't have another candidate. So for those that tanked the candidate that we did have, part of this is on you. All right, so that was the outcome. 10-4-2. So that begs the question, why are we even endorsing it? We lose more than we win, and it's not by a close margin. And where we can help, where we can make a difference, we don't seem interested in investing in that. And by that, I mean those small towns in the outskirts. They're the next place that we're going to grow, right? And another aside, just I want to say this because it wasn't lost on me. The folks that have won in Princeton and are running in Princeton have always depended on the people from McKinney and Fairview and Allen showing up to support them and help them. I'd like to know what they did in McKinney, if anything. I mean, maybe I missed it. Maybe they were there. And again, I'm not piling on them because I don't know. I'll see some of those folks tonight, I imagine, and I'm sure they'll tell me all about it. But that being said, what's done is done, right? 10-4-2. Now, I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. It's just we have got to do better. All right. So I'm going to jump over to my guest commentary. Okay. Now, the author is none other than Julie McCarty. Now, I know some people don't like her. Some people love her. I know her. I respect the heck out of her. I can work with her on certain things. It's not about her. It's about the wisdom that she is putting out here. And I'm going to read through it. And as I read through it, I'm going to comment on it. And believe it or not, some of these things I have said before. Some of these things I included in a report that I did, I don't know, at this point, 4 years ago for Collin GOP, or is it 3 years ago? It doesn't really matter at this point because there's a number of people that are precinct chairs that just don't want to know. They don't want to hear it. The truth bothers them. Okay, so here we go. All right. Well, do we want to have a powwow about the beating we took in elections this weekend? I would say yes. But if we're going to do it, we have to have a conversation with people that are actually going to listen and actually maybe I don't know, gain some insight and change their patterns of thought. Here are her takeaways. Republicans only care about federal and haven't learned how much more significant local issues are, so they don't turn out to vote. Ding, ding, ding. Been harping on this for years. I know she does too. And again, I'm not trying to take away her voice here. I'm just piling on, legitimately piling on. Where we agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, that's been the bulk of the commentary in my podcast is, hey, look, deal with the things out your back door, the things that are closer. So she's spot on 100%. All right. Item number 2. Those that don't have kids in schools think it doesn't affect them, so they don't vote. Ding, 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 ding. Now, I got to say, I got to give a little credit to my buddy Chad Green, who, oh, by the way, lost his race. He told me early on, Stephen, it's all well and good that you want to do away with government schools. But 1, it's never going to happen. And 2, knowing that it's never going to happen. Well, I mean, I already knew that, but just bear with me here. Those schools are going to exist, and you probably ought to pay attention to what they're teaching those kids in those schools, because at some point in the future, they're going to be our leaders. But again, there we go. All right, number 3. The left simply outnumbers us. They are flooding in, fixated on turning Texas blue. Immigrants, Yankees, West Coast fruits and nuts. Okay, this here I would say, yes, maybe. Immigrants can't vote yet. Yankees, well, you all know how I feel about Yankees. So we're on the same accord here. And the Yankees say they're coming here because it's better, yet they bring all their Yankee stuff with them. Now, West Coast, I don't think we can fix those people. I know there's a lot of people coming from Cali. Some of them are red. Some of them probably are really good conservatives, honestly. But they're so used to the way things are done, they don't do anything. There's another piece of this is the Republicans or the conservatives that are coming from those states and those places that are under siege think they made it to the promised land, so now they don't want to have to do anything. Well, I can just coast. This is the red state. I'm my place of safety. And my answer is yes and no. Yes, the conservatives have a lot of sway here. Yes, the Republicans run the state. But no, you cannot rest. You cannot throw it neutral or in park and pretend there's nothing to be done here. You got to put your pedal to the metal. Make sure I didn't mix up that metaphor too much. The battle is here. We may not be the front lines, but we might as well be. You got to get your act together. Okay. Item number 4. I don't tend to think there was rampant voter fraud, but I'm sure it happened in some places. Again, I live in Collin County. I've had an opportunity to meet all the county commissioners. I have a good relationship with one of them, including the county judge. They're all very confident that their systems work well and that our votes are being protected. But even if they're wrong, which I don't believe they are, but even if they are wrong, I don't think that's the real issue. I think there's people coming here and voting, and there's people double voting, but I don't think that changes the outcome, not the way that we saw it. Okay? All right, number 5. The right split the vote, running 2 candidates for the same office in many locations because we are too pig-headed to learn how that never works in our favor. We only hand it to the unified Ds who move in lockstep always. Yes, absolutely. Ding, ding, ding. We see this time and again. This aggrieved Republican or conservative wants to run, even though there's already another Republican that may be even more qualified than they are running. So the two of them run. They split the vote. Now, this is particularly egregious in school districts because for whatever insane reason, they have the plurality wins rule, which is asinine. There should be a runoff at the very least. You have to get a majority to be elected to the school board, but that's the way they've written the rules. So, I mean, we ought to take a book out of the Democrats, or take a page out of the Democrats' playbook and start running leftists against their incumbents, and then run a cool, calm, collected, conservative person that can actually have a good conversation. There we go. So yes, the Democrats are always in lockstep. They don't screw up. They take orders well. All right. Number 6, Republican leadership crammed school choice down our throats, even though none of the voters wanted it. Voters responded by refusing to put Republican on school board. Unfortunately, I think she's much closer to the truth here than I would be. I don't know that had as much impact, but it certainly didn't help. There are a lot of activists that are Republicans, that are conservative, that are all about the public schools. They're all about the government schools. They want to protect them. They don't want to change anything. They think that they know what's best. They know what's best for your children. And yeah, the admin can be screwed up, but we don't care. We don't do anything. We don't ever question what the teachers. So they knee-jerk react over every little thing. I'm not saying that there maybe isn't a reason for it, but they do overreact. And on the flip side, our state legislature, led by our governor, are as tone deaf as you can be. None of the quote-unquote conservative Christian Republicans wanted the voucher plan that they're shoving down our throats. And the whole two-step thing that never quite happened, yeah, that doesn't help us either. Now, I'm all for school choice. I've said this 100 times. My buddy Chad Green said, well, maybe you could choose to go to a school in a different district than the one you live in. Well, guess what? They're already doing that. Frisco's doing it. I think McKinney's doing it. Pretty sure Allen's doing it. And they're trying to get their customers from adjoining cities. That's good. That is a good thing. Yes, we still have government schools. Yes, they're still, quite frankly, robbing us at the point of a gun under threat of violence. But they're still funding the education, if you will, with your property taxes. But you at least have a choice. If my district stinks, I can go to this district. If my school stinks, I can perhaps go to this different school. So you're getting something out of this. But the voucher program, yeah, no, that wasn't what it was cracked up to be. It never was going to be that. There's so many simpler ways to do that, but you know what? The payola doesn't gain from that, right? The so-called private schools that are going to come in, they don't get their piece of the action. There's a whole lot of stuff going on here that I don't even know about, and I don't want to say too much because, quite frankly, I don't know, and I'm not laying any accusations. I'm just saying that's my opinion. My opinion is there's a whole lot of shadiness. All right. Number 7. We run candidates who can't, won't, or don't know how to campaign. I think I cut that out. We run candidates who can't, won't, or don't know how to campaign, can't speak in public, and are too controversial, or are just not willing to take a stand enough to differentiate themselves from other people. Okay, somehow I cut off the rest of her comment here. Not sure how I did that. Let me go back. But suffice it to say, the candidates are subpar. All right, here we go. They're not willing to take a stand enough to differentiate themselves from their opponent. And then she asks the question, anything else? Well, yeah, there are some other things. But if you're going to run for office and you can't distinguish yourself from the guy or the lady that you're running against, why in the world would I vote for you if you're going to be the same carbon copy cookie cutout that they already are? Right? I mean, this is what the ideal is in most school boards anyways. They don't want anybody to get in there and ask any questions. They don't want anybody to give any ripple of disagreement or question anything. You're just supposed to rubber stamp whatever the superintendent wants because, he's the expert. Where have we heard that before? Oh, yeah, Fauci. In any case, I think Julie McCarty, at least 5 of those 7 items is spot on 100%. And the other 2, there's very good, valid arguments there for sure. I think I got that right. It might be 6 and 1, but it doesn't matter. I got to say, in Collin County, our endorsement process, while perhaps it was better this time, has been less than stellar. Our endorsement track record has been terrible. The notion that putting the stamp of approval of the county Republican Party on school board races might as well be the kiss of death because it's darn near close to that at the city council races. And you got to ask yourself, why is that? This is where I will say. Because the people that are driven by policy, by the people that are driven by their principles, can't understand that there are other people that get a say. They always forget in all these elections that Democrats get a vote too. They run the municipal elections as if it's a primary, and worse yet, it's a Republican primary. And then if they will just get the most right thinking, the best hardcore person in there, the strongest Republican, they're going to win it all. I'm sorry. That's just not how it works. Now, yeah, we can get upset and we can be mad at the quote-unquote establishment or the good old boys, and they're there. But why wouldn't we take the time to get to know these people? Because most of them generally agree with most of our stuff anyway. Why wouldn't we work with them, learn what their concerns are, actually listen to their concerns, partner with them? Because I think we all agree the leftist loons don't need to be charged in anything, that they destroy everything that they touch. You look no further than Dallas and Austin. But if you need a better example, look at Detroit, Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, the entire state of California, the entire state of Washington, and most of Oregon on top of it. Those should be our talking points. Yeah, you know what? I'm a hard right guy, but I understand that there's a whole lot of squishy people here. And I understand it's a school board race, and they don't really care about all these issues that are important to me personally. We need to focus on the things that matter. Do we have good schools? Do the kids get a good education? Are they clean? Are they properly taken care of? Are our teachers properly paid? Is the staff properly trained and treated fairly? And, oh, by the way, do we get them home safely? These are the things we need to keep in mind. If we can't do that, if we can't focus on those things, we don't deserve to win. When it comes to the city council, you know what? City councils don't have much of anything to do or say about what goes on down in Austin, nor should they. Unfortunately, the people in Austin get tired and exasperated about what goes on with some of these cities, so they make rules and laws out of Austin that interfere with that. But if we were responsible, if we're doing a good job in all of our cities, that doesn't happen. It's a two-way street here. We have to work well together. We have to keep in mind the bigger picture. You know, you can be as partisan as you want, but you have to remember you're going to be living next to your neighbor, whether they're on your team or not on your team. And I don't want to look forward to that neighbor looking at me like I'm ready to pick a fight with them every time I'm on the street. That's not a good way to live. I don't know why anybody would do that to themselves, but that's how we run our party. Now, in Collin County, and I've told you all this before, we are conservative. We are pro-liberty. We are strong. The rest of the county really isn't. We need to drag them, yes, but we need to have them willingly come along. Have you ever seen anybody lead a horse? If that horse doesn't want to go, or if that mule or whatever, elephant for even that matter, doesn't want to go, they're not going anywhere. But if they're led by somebody that looks out for their interest and that they trust, they will gladly follow. Perhaps we should look at it that way rather than abusive anger put upon people that generally want to be on our team anyway. Just, I don't know, random thought there. With that, this has been According to Callus. And I will see you on the other side.
Wanted. Young men to rebuild Western civilization. Must be unafraid of pain, blisters, intellectual rigor, and a lifetime of long shifts with swords and shovels, digging ditches, repelling invaders, and reading stacks of books taller than their fathers. Must be impervious to manipulative women of all sorts, giggling virgins, cyber skanks, and even full cauldrons of Karens or hand-wringing clergy, but always seeking to hear and heed the words of Lady Wisdom. Immune to the leadership of hypocrites and LARPing online masculinitats, unaffected by abusive authorities, petty professors, and all brokers of official respectability. Willing to hoist the Jolly Roger and Johnny Cash's favorite finger whenever faced with idolatry. Long-suffering joy and determination required. Must be willing to dwell among the tombs and graves of the long dead, seeking truths that cannot die. Exhaustion guaranteed. Conflict guaranteed. Mortality guaranteed. New St. Andrews College. Liberal arts for the undaunted.